Indonesia is one of the world's largest producers of nickel, a key material in the global transition to clean energy. In regions like Obi Island, mining has brought economic growth and opportunity. But within this landscape lies Lake Karo and its connected river systems, a critical source of water for nearby communities. Here's where a deeper question emerges. How do we manage water resources when vital ecosystems like Lake Karo are directly influenced by mining activity?
The first effects that my family has seen from Harita Group was the floods. It was unlike any other flood we've ever endured before. It was around up to this height. It was like 50 centimeters tall. The consistency was like muddy, thick. It was unlike any other flood we've ever seen before. And also had sediments, and I think it's from the mining company. Because me and my family only use that water source, we only have one stream to rely on. So all of our cooking, all of our cleaning, it's all relied on that water source. And now it's infected. We don't know what to do. That's the only stream that's available in our community. But there's nothing left to do. There's nothing left to do. There's nothing left to do.
In 2025, heavy rainfall triggered a major incident. A sediment pond built to contain mining runoff had failed. Muddy water flowed downstream, eventually entering the Lake Karo river system and nearby settlements, flooding homes up to 50 centimeters high. But this was not just a flood. Sediment and potential contaminants move through waterways connected to Lake Karo, affecting rivers, water sources, and the daily lives of those who depend on them most.
So how has the start of this nickel mining company affected your livelihood?
Well, my husband, he fishes for a living. He used to get lots of fishes. Fishes were really abundant during the time that the mining company wasn't here yet. We had food for lunch, dinner, breakfast. However, now, because of the mining company, the fishes have dwindled in numbers. The water's become polluted, so I guess fishes don't want to be there anymore. And he doesn't get that much fish as he used to. And we don't really have food that we had before. Oh, me and my family were scared.
This reflects a broader issue. Under integrated water resource management, water is a finite and interconnected system, where ecosystems, communities, and industries depend on one another. In systems like Lake Karo and its downstream rivers, disturbance in one area, especially upstream, can quickly spread across the entire network. What happens in the mine does not stay in the mine.
Well, this is a very serious situation. The river is our raw water source. When sediment increases, our treatment system struggles. Filters clog, costs rise, and if there's a contamination like heavy metals are present, standard system may not be enough. This is way more than just an environmental issues. This is a public health risks. This was not caused by a rainfall alone. The sediment pond system has failed. A group of experts consisting of toxicologists, geochemists, epidemiologists has reviewed a sample water from the river in Spring Kawasi. Well, we showed evidence of chromium 6 levels, breaching guidelines set by the World Health Organizations. We've also collected proof that an executive has tried to hide statistic of the increase of the chromium 6 level to the public. This means we're not only facing the floods, but also the contamination risk. This resulted in our local communities losing their livelihood, health risk, and even suffering from the enforced relocations and intimidations. Where through civil, administrative, or even enforced law under Indonesia's mining laws, the government must act now.
We at the Harita Group understand that there are concerns from the public. But let's be clear, Indonesia will not be where it is today without nickel. Without nickel, there would be no global transition to clean energy, there will be no jobs, opportunities, or economic growth for Indonesia. There are some concerns that have been raised by the Kawasi village local residents, but some have chosen to raise these concerns while others have chosen to relocate. We are not ignoring this. We have actually made the solution. We have, together with the government, made Eco Village Kawasi, where we have not only given proper housing, drainage, 24-hour electricity, and many other economic facilities for the locals. So building Eco Village Kawasi is not about mitigation, it is about development. And we have done exactly that right here in our company. If we talk about monitoring and mitigating the impacts, we have done that. We monitor our regulation, we make sure that our environmental effects aren't as much, and we also reclaim land. But saying that we can fully mitigate and prevent all the impacts is simply unrealistic because mining always comes with environmental degradation. So it's not about whether there are impacts, it's about whether Indonesia is willing to move forward economically. And us, Harita Group, we've done exactly so.
Lake Karo is not an isolated body of water. It is part of a larger hydrological system that supports the people of Kawasi for drinking, fishing, and daily needs. But across Obi Island, with more than 20 mining concessions operating, pressure on the system continues to grow. And as activity intensifies, the resilience of Lake Karo is increasingly being tested.
Yeah, what fills upstreams, the impact flows downstreams. What starts at the mine becomes a water drinking problem. In extreme cases, we may need to stop a water supply.
In water management systems, we don't look at one source alone. We have to look at it integrated. We have to make sure that economical, social, and environmental aspects are all put into consideration. This is why monitoring, enforcement, and coordination should be strengthened.
So, to find the best solutions, they decided to meet in a conference to discuss these issues furthermore.
Okay, since everyone's here, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we're here to resolve our conflict between each other. We have the NGOs, we have the mining companies, we also have the water utility companies and the local community. So before we move on to solutions, we must recognize something important. This situation is not so simple. On one hand, nickel mining in this region supports global economic growth for Indonesia and our global transition to energy. However, at the same time, Lake Karo river system is not just a body of water. It supports the livelihood of the people of Kawasi. So the question is not whether mining should exist or whether communities should be protected. Both should exist. Both should coexist at the same time. The real question is, why are the systems now in conflict? Is there a limitation in the infrastructure design, or a gap in the environmental safeguards, or a lack of coordination between each other? Our role here is not to assign the blame, but to ensure that development does not come at the cost of public safety.
We
know mining is important. We're not trying to stop it. But me and my family need clean water. Before the river was okay. But now after it rains, it becomes brown, it becomes muddy. There's a strange smell that comes from it. It's so smelly. And my husband can't get enough fish to provide for my family. We don't know if it's safe anymore. We just want to feel sure that it's safe enough for us to drink.
Thank you, Ibu. We acknowledge the concerns raised by the local residents. However, as a mining company, Harita Group has actually diligently followed the environmental protocols, and we have used high technology systems such as sediment controls to manage runoff within our water and to manage the water quality in Lake Caro. However, the real issue here is our natural region rainfall. Natural conditions are obviously going to affect our environment and our water quality. So that's not something that we can control as a nickel mining company. However, we are here to improve coordination, and we are here to make sure that solutions are still practical so that we can continue our operations. Because in the end of the day, do we want an Indonesia without economic growth?
The issue is not the existence of the systems, but whether they are sufficient under real conditions. Data monitoring and field observations indicates increased sediment loads and contamination risks. Even if unintentional, the downstream impact is still real. Environmental protection should be based on the outcomes, not the intentions. So our responsibility is to provide safe drinking water, but our treatment systems were designed based on stable raw water conditions. What are we facing right now is increasingly variability, especially during runoff events. Also, higher turbidity means that it is more intensive treatments, more frequent maintenance, and more operational costs. And if contaminants such as heavy metal present, conventional systems may not be sufficient to guarantee the water safety. If water quality occasionally exceeds standard, even under extreme conditions, should that be considered acceptable risk? Or does it indicate the current safeguards that are not yet adequate?
Well, our company has operated within regulatory frameworks and continuously improve our systems. However, if we are saying zero impact in the environment, that is something that's very impossible, and that's not something that you can expect in a mining company. So I think instead of actual elimination, we need to look at risk management so that everyone and all stakeholders here can agree into one decision while still understanding economic growth is important.
So from a treatment perspective, there is a limit to what can be managed. Short-term fluctuations can be handled, but if raw water quality is consistently degraded beyond design parameters, then the systems become unreliable. At that point, additional investment or upstream control is no longer optional, it becomes necessary.
What we are hearing is not opposition, it's interdependence. The company relies on environmental sustainability to make sure it operates sustainably. However, the local community relies on clean water for its daily life. And the water utility company is supported by both the funds from the locals as well as the supply of raw sewage water from the company. So this is not a question about choosing sides. It's a question of alignment. If one part of the system fails, then every part of the system will reap the consequences. And if we fail to address this together, the cost will not only be environmental, but social, economical, and political. So what can we do together?
We proposed real-time monitoring, early warning systems, improved treatment capacity, and better coordinations between sectors.
We will upgrade infrastructure.
We ensure transparency.
A joint plan is established with shared responsibilities, monitoring, and evaluation, focused not only on compliance, but on protecting the Lake Caro water system as a shared resource. But can this be done?
1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.